Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return, peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I am Chief Sophia of the AmaruKhan Band of Indians, and this is our Cancer Equinox 2025 astrology video. I don't do astrology videos, so this is obviously going to be my version of an astrology video. And so if people are watching me that are real astrologers, I have I have literally done my own investigation on everything that I'm saying, and it may likely not match what is being taught by other astrologers. So if that's going to be a problem for you, please feel free to click off. That is my disclaimer now. The way that I describe things is based on our research over the last 3 years into how the energy actually works, not what we command the energy to be, not what we envision the energy is like, not what somebody said 1,000 years ago. We don't do energy like that. We don't get information from galactic entities to advise us on how to interact with this energy. Not that I believe that that's a bad thing, but we don't do that on this channel, at least not right now. We're earth bound entities, but that's not necessarily our destiny, and that doesn't mean that that was our past either. And so we're dealing with what is happening right now. This is the right now astrology. Of course, this whole astrology venture is called daylight astrology because we time our cycles from the light of the moon to the light of the moon, meaning full moon to full moon. That's how we chart cycles. And most astrologers don't chart cycles like that. So this being an astrology video, I'm not sure exactly how long this is going to be, but I wanted to break it down into pieces so that people could try to comprehend what I'm talking about. So we have 3 general areas we're going to cover. We're going to cover the solar astrology, which is the placement of the stars in the heavens and the astrology wheel. We're going to cover the Jubilee cycle, which is the Zolkin calendar, and we're also going to cover the lunar cycle and talk about the lunar mansions and the lunar mansion that is active at this time based on where the actual moon is. Okay, so this is settle in. We're going to try to make this not so difficult. All right, so first let's talk about the solar astrology. Go back to the top. All right, so this is the first cardinal point of the new year. Even though the Aries new year starts with, okay, so before I even start with that, we start the cycle with 1 degree of the sign. So a lot of people, most people are celebrating, well, they call it the summer solstice, but it's the equinox on the 21st. Based on our research, we know that the 0 is not even a real number. It's a placeholder. So 0 degrees of a particular sign is the placeholder for the sign. So we look at that as the 30th degree of the previous sign. Whenever you look at any of the astrology stuff, it literally has a 30-degree point, even though there's no 30-degree point and it never references 0. So we look at the ingress as when it hits 1 degree. And when it's at 0 degrees, that's the placeholder because it's about to hit 1 degree. That does not mean that 0 degrees is not existent, is that it's not powerful and all of that stuff, because it is. I have a 0 degree point in my own chart and I know that thing be working. Okay. This is our attempt to rectify the knowledge of the past with the reality of the present. So in reality, astrology wheels account for 0 degrees. But the practicality of the past is they knew there was no 0. So they used 30 degrees of the previous sign, whatever it may be, as the warning, hey, we're getting ready to move into the next sign. And then the first degree is actually when the sun ingresses into the actual sign. The 30th degree is kind of like that liminal midpoint. People often say that the 29 degree is the liminal midpoint, but I'm just clarifying. I believe that it's the 0 degree of a sign that's the liminal midpoint, and 1 degree is what starts the cycle. This is going to be happening on June the 22nd. So again, this is our first cardinal point of the new year. The new year being the day that we observe the sun changing stations, which was, I do believe, oh gosh, why would I even bring that up? Hold on. I got it, y'all. I got it. I think it was the 19th of March. Let me look at the wow, why would I even talk about that and didn't have it open? We're looking for the 2025. Okay, so our new year was on it was on Thursday. I think it was the 19th of March, and the equinox doesn't happen until the 22nd. So the Cancer equinox is always the first cardinal point in our new year from the astrological new year. So the astrological new year and the or is it the, well, we hit 1 degree before we hit the, let me see. Dang, why would I say that? Now I've got to do the actual research. Oh, the observed new year is not the astrological new year. Okay, so let me clarify. This is technically the second one of the new year, because we observed the new year before the equinox of Aries. So this is the second one. So we didn't do the first one. So this is the first one we're doing on a first. This is the first one that we're looking at like this. Let me put it that way. It is not the first one of the new year. It is the first one that we're looking at like this. The first one would be in Aries, because the equinox happens after we observe. Sometimes we don't know the whole exact pattern of when we observe the sun in the sky and when we hit the equinox. So it's not necessarily always the same. And I know, again, people want this thing to be consistent, but it sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. Like in 2026, the equinox is on March 22nd, which is always going to be about March 22nd, but we'll probably observe the start of the new year on the 19th. It's usually the start of the new year for, you don't understand what I mean. You can observe when the sun changes stations from the previous cycle. This is ancient, I guess, Hebrew tradition. So when you observe the actual sun change stations in the sky, what you can do, you can track. I've done it for 3 years. Okay. The next day is the first day. It's the new year. You observe the sun move in the sky in a weird position. I have videos on that on my channel you can look at. The day after that is the new year. This helps you calculate your feast days as far as the biblical Old Testament is concerned. And it's important because if you don't calculate your feast days, you'll never know when your Day of Atonement is. That's your day, the day that the Creator comes down from his high place to see you, to dwell with you in your house. That's an important date. And so if you don't observe the start of the new year, you cannot calculate that date. Okay. And so that's what we do. We calculate the dates, we observe. The sun changes station, and the sun does actually move in an unusual way to indicate that we've actually moved. Okay. So this first part is wrong. It's not the first cardinal point of the new year. It's the second cardinal point of the new year. Okay. I got that wrong already. I got stuff wrong. So let me change this. I have notes. All right. We have a Sun-Jupiter conjunction that will be exact on June the 24th, 2025 at 10:58 a.m., 4 degrees, 21 minutes of Cancer. So it's baked into this Cancer equinox, but it's not exact. And the sun is going to catch up to Jupiter, okay? And this is what is going to anchor in all of this energy. It's a lot of energy on this chart. It's a lot. This is what's going to anchor in the energy, okay? The last Jupiter in transit in 2014 did not have a Sun-Jupiter conjunction. This is really important because the sun is, like, again, we've been talking about, it is the Holy Spirit. It is the voice that speaks through the prophets, okay? And so because the Holy Spirit did not speak through the prophet of Jupiter in the last Jupiter Cancer cycle, the Jupiter Cancer piece of our chart has not had the proper direction or corrections. And you'll see as we discuss this, you'll see that this is all being rectified in this placement. So because there was no direct conjunction in 2014, this has not happened since 2002 when the sun and Jupiter was in Cancer. Now, in 2002, you guys will remember that was right after 9/11. So that is what the sun and Jupiter did last time. Now, the reason that's important, if you don't know my theory on 9/11, it is that, excuse me, that it was never the intention of whoever did the plane flying or the bombing or whatever. It was never their intention for the towers to collapse. That was not supposed to happen. Okay. What was supposed to happen was a reset, a financial reset. And you can look at my Jupiter Saturn conjunction cycle video in the Daylight Astrology playlist to see what I'm talking about. It was trying to solve their financial crisis that they had brewing from the 1980s before, but that's as far back as I went. Okay. So when the towers completely fell, that was their monetary system completely being demolished. That is the last time Jupiter conjunct with the sun. It demolished the monetary system. Okay. So we don't know what it's going to do this time, but it's going to be related to the monetary system. That's for sure, because, like, again, we didn't have this conjunction. So in 2014, when this conjunction should have happened, it was in the time of the opening trine of our Saturn Jupiter cycle. Now, again, the opening trine in our cycle is right after the conjunction, because we start our cycle from full power. So there was a conjunction and then there was the opening trine. That is the last time this was supposed to happen. So instead of there being a correction in 2014 from the sun coming in and saying, hey, what y'all got going on here? Everything just continued to go on as if the sun had approved it. Okay. So just energetically, that's what we're talking about. This allowed them to manipulate Jupiter without oversight. That's why you have the stock market at all-time highs every single day, never correcting, never. I heard people say this is the longest bear market in history. This is not how things are supposed to be done. It is supposed to change, and we haven't seen any change. Okay, so we have the sun at 1 degree of Cancer, as I mentioned. And the spirit intelligence affiliated with that The spirit intelligences come from a book that was written by Franz Bardon, but this is ancient knowledge, okay? And when I refer to the symbols refer to the Kosminski symbols. I don't use Sabian symbols, okay? So the spirit intelligence is Nablum, and it says this spirit intelligence will be pleased to inform the spiritualite by inspiration and intuition on the various degrees of warmth, temperature, in respect of alchemic or spiragic methods. And that has to do with his spiragic has to do with solar fluid and lunar fluid, okay? He calls it magnetic and electric. However, since these not only play a role in the preparation of plants and metals, but also other fluids, for instance, light, color, tone, oscillation. Oscillation is like density, how thick the energy is. The spiritualite may also be informed by him on these things. Nablum is an expert in alchemic and spiragic operations. The spiritualite can profit much in this respect by his inspirations. And the symbol for this is a curious ring set with a large heart of white onyx. Denotes one of occult learning and of extremely sensitive and sympathetic nature, who will do much for the pleasure and help of people. He is gifted with a peculiar power which produces a feeling of calmness and serenity. He may not be free from his own worries, but the power to cast away such poison is his, and he will find that the rays of good he throws out for others will react with added force on himself. It is a symbol of compassion. So basically you have a entity, Nablum, which is going to help us to be compassionate towards these people out here. So it's again, this is Cancer, emotional, but we now know what kind of emotion that's supposed to be coming up. Not emotional as in, crying all the time or being angry or whatever. This talks about compassion. This is the energy of the equinox. When we gain access to our compassion for the year, when the Creator has the compassion for us, this is the kind of energy that we feel. Okay. At 2 degrees of Cancer, we have Nuditoni, and that's Jupiter is in its placement. And the spiritualite being, and this is also where our Jupiter Sun conjunction is going to take place. The spiritualite being in connection with this head gets from him closer information on the eruptions of volcanoes. Why am I talking like an accent? On our physical world and on the earthquakes with them. Nuditoni can inform the spiritualite in advance when a volcanic mountain will throw out lava. Nuditoni or his servants can, if requested, accompany the spiritualite on his mental or astral wanderings into places deep under the earth to show him hot springs, caves with stalactites, hidden treasures, or anything else which is to be found under the surface of the earth. This head is at the same time a very good initiator into the science of pyrotechnics, especially as far as operations with the electric and magnetic fluids are concerned, and he informs the spiritualite how to bring about various pyrotechnical miracles in a spiritual manner with these fluids. The symbol for this is a laborer leaning against a tree, watching a number of others digging a neighboring field. Denotes one who lets others do the work which he should do for himself. He is fond of the luxuries of life, but is quite content to receive without the toil of gaining them. He can advance his own philosophy to uphold his actions and will be supported throughout his present life on earth. It is a symbol of inertia. So Jupiter and the Sun are going to meet at the symbol of inertia, which is not inertia. It's you're inert while everybody else is running around like a chicken with their head cut off. Okay, that's where Jupiter is, and that's where the Sun is coming by the 24th. Okay, so that can mean a lot of things, but that's the energy that's built in to this with the Sun, where the Sun is. Okay, so we also have other places we're going to talk about on this chart. And of course you can screenshot this and zoom in and stuff like that. But I just want to, I didn't even talk about the part of fortune. It's like not even relevant. That's crazy. We are going to talk about some placement points that we don't normally talk about. And of course, I'll have to do other videos to explain what they mean, because I don't want to have to go into all of that right now. All right, so we have Juno at 17 degrees of Scorpio, and Juno is our balance, our relationship between ourself and our partners. This is active because it's kind of in a quincux with it for sure is in a quincux with Neptune and Saturn, which we haven't talked about yet, the degree points, but it's also really connected to this Neptune. This is not really a yod. A proper yod, from what I understand, has a sextile at the base. This got a square at the base. So I don't know if it's more powerful because a square is a shock to the system, but the fact that Saturn and Neptune are square, Jupiter and Jupiter and the Sun, and they're both pointing at Juno, is to me emphasis on relationships. Actually, let's talk about the Sun. I have a chart here. I'm just trying to keep in order. Let's talk about the Sun square Neptune first. All right, sorry guys. This thing is so weird. All right. Let's talk about that placement first. So we are now talking about the Sun square Neptune. I think it's more important to get this part first. All right. The Sun square Neptune and Saturn. Neptune is at 2 degrees. Saturn is at 1 degrees of Aries. Okay. So 1 degrees of Aries. Okay. So in the big cycle of Saturn, the Jupiter, we just had our closing square between Saturn and Jupiter. Okay. That is built into this conjunction. So, and not only is that built into the conjunction, this correctional energy of the Sun is built into this conjunction. So let's just say, for example, Neptune and Jupiter have been going wild with the propaganda, right? The financial propaganda, Bitcoin, it's secure, it's this, it's that, cryptos and all of that, right? Just going wild. All right. The Sun is here to speak through the prophets. Now remember that I'm going to use the Nicene Creed as to explain a lot of stuff. The Sun is here to speak through the prophets. That means there's going to be financial prophets that arise from whom the Sun will speak, and it will be different from the story that Neptune and Jupiter have been telling about how this stuff works. This is the closing. We had the closing square between Saturn and Jupiter. It's the closing square. So this cycle is done. Okay. Next up, we're going to have trines and we're going to have oppositions. So there's a lot of corrections that have to be done. This is why you see the Sun also here with Neptune trying to correct the record. Like Neptune is saying, hey, crypto is this. And the Sun is saying, no, it's not. I didn't say that. I didn't approve that. What spirit did you get that from? It wasn't the Holy Spirit. Was that the Holy Ghost? Like, who was that said that? Okay. So that's that's why people don't like squares, because they say they're harsh aspects, but these are cardinal points. These are not just aspects where nothing, it's not related to anything else. These are cardinal points, and we have another cardinal point activated. I'll talk about that next. So let's talk about 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. 1 degrees of Aries is Moret, and it says this spirit intelligence is very active and impulsive. It is distinguished by an extremely strong wit It is very learned and can not only supply the spiritualite with facts of general knowledge, but it can, above all, make him acquainted with the excellent methods to influence his memory in a favorable manner and to increase his power of intuition. Apart from this, Morak may help the spiritualite with inventions of any kind in a decisive manner. He is the ruler of the fire element with the help of which he can bring about marvelous effects. Morak can inform the spiritualite about any questions which are connected with electricity, no matter whether they have to do with electronics or electrophysics, whether astral or mental electricity, the so-called electric fluid is meant. So when we did have the Equilux or Equinox, no, Equilux in March, basically March the 22nd, right? This 1 degree of Aries would have been where the sun is. So now we have Saturn here, and Neptune has already been here because it's already on the 2 degrees. But now we have Saturn here, and that's built into this equinox in Cancer season. So that tells me that whatever the sun laid down in March, it's doubling, tripling down by putting Saturn there. And Neptune's already been there, but putting Saturn there to make sure, hey, make sure these people get these messages. Boom, 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 boom. Like, don't allow these people to not get these messages. Like, Saturn is, they call him the taskmaster, right? So whatever the sun said to do back in in the Equilux in March, now Saturn is like embedded in this particular chart to say, you better get it done. No, there is no you're not getting it done. You will get it done. You must get it done. Handle it. Which is crazy. The symbology for the 1 degree of Aries is a ball of fire bursting across the rainbow. Denotes one of strength, force, and daring. By nature, he is aggressive and martial, desiring to conquer at all costs. He is restless and impelling, taking many risks and enduring many hardships. The degree is a dangerous one, threatening mind and body. The symbol is a symbol of action. So you got to get to work. Okay, so basically, if I was to say what's the theme of the Cancer equinox is, it's time to get to work. Whatever you was doing before, that wasn't no real work. So if you were feasting with us and relaxing and taking it easy and processing like emotions that have come up from the start of the new year, now when this particular Cancer equinox, it's time to get to work. And we have plenty of sunshine, and we don't start another fast for over a month. And even when we start that fast, now we can be more specific on what we expect to see. Okay, so that is 1 degree of Aries. Let's talk about 2 degrees of Aries. That's where Neptune is right now, and that's Malacha. This spirit intelligence has the same qualities as Morak and brings about the same effects. On top of that, it teaches the spiritualite how to move about in the kingdom of salamanders and how he can operate with the powers of fire on different planes. Furthermore, the spiritualite may learn from Malacha in which way certain states of trance can be brought about with the help of the fire element. If the spiritualite wishes it, Malacha can charge him elemental volts for special purposes and transfer them into the Akasha principle of the zone girdling the earth, which in consequence have their effects on the physical world. Should the spiritualite ask for it, Malacha will be pleased to place at his disposal suitable familiar spirits with high magical activities and spiritual faculties. Malacha can give good advice in respect of alchemy, i.e., he can procure the prima materia for the preparation of the great elixir in a dry process. Wow. Many other things will be revealed to the spiritualite by Malacha if the form is available to get into contact with him. So this guy is built into this energy with Neptune. So Neptune is all about watery, kind of daydreamy kind of things. And so the fact that this energy is built into this is something that by the end of this Cancer equinox season, or I don't necessarily think this is just the cycle for the next 3 months, but I think this is going to play out the heaviest in the next 3 months, right? Because, well, anyway, it's going to play out the heaviest in the next 3 months, but we should see the full results of this, like the full fruit from the tree, by next year, because we go from year to year. It's from full moon to full moon. So we will go from Cancer equinox to Cancer equinox. So this is what is being built into this equinox. All right. The symbol for 2 degrees of Aries is a man with a sword in his hand falling through a skylight of colored glass. Okay. So denotes one's of rash and impetuous nature. He is strong and brave, but is wanting in restraint and is apt to involve himself in unpopular or regrettable actions. Such a one will all through life have to exercise a strong hand over himself and his actions. It is a symbol of rashness. So again, this is a guy who is going to try to convince you to do things maybe you shouldn't do. Okay, just maybe, and maybe you should. We don't know. We're not making any judgments here. All we're doing is observing the energy and seeing how it plays out. This is allowing us to be a better observer of the energy, okay? But I would say maybe you do need some rashness right now to get this work done. So don't discount the fact that sometimes you have to be aggressive with the energy in order to get certain things done. All right, so the other cardinal point that's activated, because it's in a cardinal house, not because it's necessarily like exact, right, is Cupido. Now, I haven't described Cupido, but from Cupido is the, well, let me just say one thing about Cupido. Cupido is the energy of Jesus. Okay, so it is his celestial point, in my opinion. Now, of course, Mars is Jesus' energy, but Cupido would be like the specific point, okay? And so this is a point where you can get blessings, miracles, good things, and based on its rotation, which I'm not going to talk about because I can't remember off the top of my head, it is very, very likely that it rules a particular cycle within the Zocan cycle, which we're going to do a whole separate video on the Jubilee cycle at a later date and time, okay? So we have 8 degrees of Capricorn, which is Pormatho, and it says this spirit intelligence is in charge of all earth radiation in our physical world. The spiritualite is told by this head which earth rays he can use for his and for other people's benefit, and which have a harmful influence on one's health. He also informs him how to protect himself against malicious influence of earth rays. Apart from this, technology is indebted to this head for the inspirations in respect of all kind of apparatuses which have so far come into use for measuring earth rays of all kinds. What are earth rays? Earth rays is persuasion. Earth rays is like the gamma rays and all of that. Earth rays are like when we used to use the pendulum to send energy to people. Psychic rays, that's all part of earth rays. Like they're rays that emit from the earth. You are part of the earth and you are emitting rays and frequencies out. That's what your thoughts are. Your thoughts do become things, right? And so this guy is in charge of that in our physical world. So over this time period, you can expect to gain control of your thoughts and control of your mind. Or if you're not in the right energy, you're going to lose your mind. Total, complete loss, okay? Because this is also in the energy. It's baked into the energy. The symbol for this is a woman looking on an empty cradle in an altitude of deep grief, the figure of a child near her, surrounded by a bright light, striving to pierce the gloom of her atmosphere. Denotes one whose life will be one of experience, and who will suffer greatly through ignorance of certain knowledge which would free him if he knew it. He should try and comprehend that the deeper expressed grief, the harder it is for the truth to be known. The blacker the darkness, the greater the danger into which he may walk. It is a symbol of admonition. This is a fact. This is why you have to get control over your brain. Now, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but because it's not really has to do with the astrology, but obviously it has to do with the energy. Before you go to sleep at night, I have been suggesting people program things and ask questions, right? Ask your questions before you go to sleep. We haven't been asking the right questions. What we need to ask before we go to sleep at night is a question like this. What do my blessings look like? 1. 2. What do my customers look like? Or what does my perfect job look like? 3. What does my dowry look like if you're a woman? And if you're a male, in just straight up inheritance. And then you have to feel it. And you're supposed to use your dream state to feel this. Not ask questions like, when will I get some money? Because that's a very negative, money is not real. So that can just throw anything at you. But blessings are real. Dowry is real. Inheritance is real. Customers are real. Like, these are actually real things. Or jobs, they're real. Like, even if the job itself is whatever, a job is a real thing. Like, it's in the Bible, the book of Job, the book of Job. You know what I mean? It's a real thing. And so those are things that they can't manipulate. And so in order to get control of this guy is going to help us by helping us not to delve so deeply into the darkness. And that's really been a goal of the enemy, is to keep us all like trapped into the darkness, right? So, all right. We also have Neptune trine Black Moon Lilith. All right. So Neptune again being the Neptune is the propaganda or the dream, right? Your heart, what your heart feels. Black Moon Lilith is like a part of your subconscious. Now, we also have another part that is exactly opposite, which is Sedna, is opposite Black Moon Lilith. Oh, did I not pull Black Moon Lilith's information? Oh gosh, y'all. I might have to pull Black Moon Lilith's information real quick. All right. But let me tell you, let me pull Black Moon Lilith's information real quick. I'm going to make this into separate videos because it's just going to be too long. All right, let's pull. Black Moon Lilith is at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. Hope I clicked the right one. No, I didn't. All right, let's look at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. I knew I missed something. I haven't even gotten through all of my astrology stuff. This is definitely going to be more than one video. We're looking at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. All right, 2 degrees of Sagittarius is Mirimo. Steam and diverse possibilities of its use have been introduced to man by this head, whether the vaporization of liquids for manifold purposes or the production of most modern steam engines is concerned. At the appropriate hour, Mirimo will inspire many an inventor with improvements, changes, and novelties in this line. This could be for sure related to, on a physical realm, the return of the what is that thing called? The hypersonic, not the hypersonic, but they used to, like the Concorde, they used to be able to travel through the air really fast, and now they slowed it down because of the whole sonic boom issue. So that might be that, or this could literally be like how to use steam to remove these entities from your energy. I was, have been researching that, like, if you're trying to lose weight, it's very helpful to use steam as a way to remove this stuff from your energy, okay? These entities from your body, because it also helps you use weight, as opposed to the steam room, as opposed to the sauna, because the sauna is a dry heat. The steam room is a wet heat. So the symbol for this is a woman of angry countenance holding a dagger in her hand. Denotes one strongly passionate and well-favored who finds it difficult to subdue and control the forces by which he is swayed. Hence, there is a tendency to do many regrettable things. He may be drawn into litigation and quarrels of various kinds, and he may be tempted to aggressive action and threatening attitudes. Gradually, then, the finer side of his character will be hidden, if not corrupted, by the employment of the grosser. Is a symbol of mutiny. So to me, you have this, and let's talk about Sedna real quick. Sedna is opposite this energy. So the Black Moon Lilith is the furthest point of the moon, the way it's pointing in the atmosphere, okay? That's a black moon. Sedna is our subconscious. And so you have this fight going on between our literal subconscious, right, which is Sedna, and this imaginary point where our subconscious should be. And the imaginary point, what it looks like, is getting overruled because it has been standing there saying, no, we should be like this. No, we should be like this. No, we should be like this. And Sedna is opposing that. This is when that imaginary degree is in its full power, because this is an opposition, and Sedna is in her full power, right? And this is baked in again into this equinox. So Sedna is 1 degree at Gemini, okay? And that is, a spiritualite will be given exact information by this head on all questions dealing with electric fluid and its relation to the mental, astral, and physical planes. Proxones is regarded master of the electric fluid and therefore master of electricity. At the same time, he is a special guardian of inventions. And as far as these are concerned with the basics of electricity, he keeps them in the right equilibrium. All people dealing with inventions in the field of electricity are accordingly inspired by Proxones. He will tell the discreet spiritualite of inventions which will be made after many years or even after many centuries. Of course, the spiritualite is not allowed to publish these inventions, but he will hear from Proxones what periods of time it will take technicians to make progress in the field of electricity, and can accumulate great knowledge in this respect. With Proxones' permission, the spiritualite may make use of some secrets, but only for himself, for this must be in no case result in chaos of the orderliness of the world. The symbol for this is 2 ionic columns adorned with globes. A burst of flame issuing out of clouds behind. Denotes a double nature, cultured, gifted person who gains reputation through his acts. He has great mental energy and will be combined with impetuosity, which directs to good or evil results. His overhastyness may lead him to mistakes which incur displeasure and court danger. It is a symbol of animation. So you have on one hand, Black Moon Lilith with this steam power, right? And you have on the other hand Sedna with this electric power. So now you have steam and electric in their full opposite power. And so we will see how this works together. But this is within our subconscious. So this is kind of like your creative steam, like right brain, and your left brain, which is like electric and precise, working together. Because people know, like, steam engines is about the feel. You got to look, you got to see, wait until it, whatever. It's about how it feels. Electricity is precise. That's why electric clocks are precise. Computers, all this stuff is precise. So this is about a imprecise way of doing things with a precise way of doing things, both in their full power within our minds. These are both mental points. Okay. Now I can talk about Juno. So right? Because Neptune is trying the black moon. Okay, now let's talk about Juno. Juno is at 7. So this Neptune Saturn conjunction and this Sun Jupiter conjunction are both pointing at Juno. Juno, like I said before, is about our relationships. So it is at 17 degrees of Scorpio. Now, Black Moon Lilith just spent 9 months in Scorpio. Okay, so this is also reactivating that whole concept of where our minds are supposed to be, like what we're supposed to be seeing, based on how the energy is playing out. Okay, so 17 degrees of Scorpio is Butharush. Okay, and I have this natally. It is a job of this head to cause man not only to eat fruits in their raw state, but also to process and tend them. He has taught man during the course of time to prepare dishes by the help of fire element, i.e. roasting, baking, stewing, etc. Furthermore, to bake bread, to make sweets, and to find new meat dishes. He has led man up to the present achievements of the art of cooking. Butharash is therefore rightly called the initiator into the art of cooking and baking. Listen, I'm about to tell you a story. The symbol for this is a dagger with jeweled hilt stuck in a document. Denotes peculiar birth conditions, but a gifted person who though threatened with danger, overcomes and produces worthy works. His powerful, energetic soul is blended with idealism, poetry, and beauty. There is firmness in all he does and a power which gives it penetrative force and excellence. It is a symbol of romance. Okay. I just told you I have this natally. This is my Saturn placement. I have this natally. And I, just like within the last week, have been like, look, I bought so many tinned foods. I've been trying to add protein to my diet, all of this stuff. Like, I don't even know where it came from. So the fact that this guy, Juno, and it's about partnerships, it's about me, in my case, partnering with my body, right? Because I want to get healthy. I want to get fit in shape so I can do these carnivals. So I need to partner with my body in order to get that done. And that entity is here to assist. And since I have it natally, it's going to be very, very regimented for me. So this is activating that within myself. So for everyone, it's going to be different. But imagine we got the Sun and Jupiter pointing at this. We have Neptune and Saturn pointing at this. This is going to be very, very favorable if you can use this. It's almost like telling us, this is how you make the most of this energy. You make the most of this energy by adjusting your diet, no matter what house your Scorpio is in. You're going to make the most of this by getting your diet on track. Like literally digging into your diet, and your relationship of your body with itself. Okay. Which is amazing. We also have Venus opposite Juno. So basically we have Saturn, Neptune, Venus, Sun, and Jupiter all making aspects to this point, like a bow and an arrow. It's really this Juno is really the most important thing. I think to me, this Juno is even more important than this yod that's pointed at Pluto, which we're going to talk about in a minute. All right, so Venus is opposite Juno. It's at 16 degrees of Taurus, and that's Tardo. So Venus is in it's in its home, like not its exaltation. Venus is in its home, and Venus, when it was in Aries, was very difficult. Venus in its home is supposed to be a much easier energy. I don't know. I'm not really ruled by Venus, so I haven't necessarily experienced this as much. Okay. The spirit intelligence is Tardo. This spirit intelligence has the power to awaken in the spiritual life various talents. For instance, talents in art, literature, or other by suitable practices and the like, or if the spiritual light has the disposition for certain talents to develop these quickly. If, for instance, the spiritual light wants to make a career as an artist, he will find this head the initiator and assisting friend that he needs. The symbology for this is a white dove adorned with a rose-colored ribbon to which is attached a little bell standing on the right shoulder of a man drinking wine. Denotes one of merry and convivial spirit, who will be favored by women and Venus. There's a tendency to too much indulge, but ever a restraining power which holds the native to a right and rosy course. It is a symbol of good living. So literally, we have Venus also injecting into this Juno energy, the good life, good living, natural talents, naturally being able to, like, so for example, with myself, I have, like I said, been eating this tinned fish, right? Sardines and stuff. I never ate stuff like that before. And I just been like trying to come up with recipes and make it like edible. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a really good job at this. At first I wasn't doing so good because I was following like what people were doing on TikTok. But once I stopped doing that because it wasn't tasting right and started to focus in on how I know I like to eat, the stuff has been like amazing. Like really, really good. And I've been able to get because I need to be taking about 140 grams of protein a day. And I've really been able to up my protein intake like that. So we do have a proper yod. Did I also not talk about, oh my goodness. I'm going to talk about Mars. Mars doesn't have a lot of influence, except it is also squaring Black Moon Lilith, and it's in this proper yod. No, Mars is very influential. Now remember, Mars just spent almost 6 months in Cancer. So Mars is really directing the show. It really laid the foundation for all of this Cancer energy. So it's not like there wasn't a way prepared. Mars in Cancer was preparing this way for real. So let's talk about that. All right, so we have Mars at 2 degrees, and it's also at 2 degrees too. So it's literally like not a mini grand trine, but some kind of I don't know what they call it. Like, again, I said, I'm not a proper astrologer. So let's look at, I got to get it open. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is Two of Sage. All right. I just don't want to have to do this work another time because I totally missed this. So we're gathering all the little pieces so that I don't have to do this again. So bear with me for 1 minute because I don't want to move away from it and have to come back. So let's look at 2 degrees of Virgo. That's where Mars is. And I have Mars in Virgo natally. So this is also affecting me. I'm trying to find one point that's really not affecting me. And so far, most of these things are affecting me very personally. So 2 degrees of Virgo is Bruahi. This spirit intelligence is a protector of all inventions in the Akasha principle so that they are not realized before their time. As occasion demands, he inspires certain individuals to make certain inventions and causes these to be realized in the physical world. However, this head also hinders people with high intuitive faculties from realizing inventions which are not to be made known to the public before a longer time. Maybe a century or 5 centuries has passed. The spiritualite in the favor of this head is shown by him under the seal of secrecy in the Akasha principle, which kind of inventions will start our world in 100 or even 1,000 years. So this tells me that there's new inventions that's going to be coming up. This guy, one of the things I don't like about him is that he always makes things seem like, oh, it's way out there somewhere and we're never going to get it. And I never quite agree with that, right? We have to have some stuff in order to get anywhere. We can't just be waiting forever, for something that is like, oh, it's going to come eventually. Like, no, sometimes we need the stuff to come now, right? And they have been using these spirit intelligences and this energy to block things from happening. So even though I read them, the way that he put them together, it doesn't mean I necessarily agree with the way that he describes it. Because in this case, I think it's, especially since it's Mars is action. Mars is get it done. And then during this Cancer equinox, and plus you have this totally out of alignment energy because we didn't have the Sun Jupiter conjunction in the last Cancer cycle for the Sun. And so some things need to be advanced. There's lots of technology that needs to come out, that's supposed to have been come out, but they just keep hiding it or using it for their own need. Okay, so the Kosminski symbol for 2 degrees of Virgo is a waning moon in a sky, half of which is clear and studded with stars, and half of which is covered with dark clouds, which herald an approaching storm. Denotes one of considerable ability who, as his life grows older, will be plunged into difficulties and trouble. It is well for one born in this degree to study his actions and to be scrupulously cautious as to his plans and movements. He should avoid speculative ventures, guard against deceit and treachery, and do all that is possible to lead an even temperate life. It is a symbol of threatenings. And being that this is Mars, listen, whatever it is that you're given, your talent, whatever, because the talent thing is coming in with the Venus, right? Whatever it is that you're given, just do the right thing. Like, do it with integrity and honesty, and don't sell out, because this Mars energy being here, it is literally indicating that if you do sell out, you're going to be very, very, you're going to be rewarded for it pretty quickly. Okay. All right. So now we could talk about this yod. We do have a yod, which is the base is the Pluto, not Pluto. The base of the yod with Pluto is this Mars at 2 degrees of Virgo, and then this 1 and 2 degrees of Cancer energy, because that's in the sextile and they're pointing at Pluto. This is at 3 degrees of Aquarius, which is Cohen, and this spiritual intelligence also inspires man with new technical inventions, with a special predilection for technical inventions in the field of agriculture. If the spiritualite is interested, this head lets him behold in the Akasha principle the progress in agricultural technology, which in the far distant future will facilitate man's work. The symbol for this is a white-haired man holding a cross before him, walking over a mosaic pavement. Denotes one of a truly religious mind whose career will be as full of incident as the many pieces which go into to make a mosaic pavement are full of color. Material life is not without its dangers, moral and physical, but the native is not born under the heel of fear. He sees beyond his times and bears his own cross. It is a symbol of faithfulness. So our faithfulness is being ground in, like our ability to take these technical inventions, creations, or whatever, and use them to take care of ourselves. Agriculture, that's food, that's a literal feeding of yourself, is being ground in with this Jupiter, really, and this Jupiter in Cancer, and this Mars in Virgo, which spent 6 months in Cancer. So this is how important like this is. So it's like you got to point it out, but because it's going to be that acute, like it's going to be that important. The last thing we're going to talk about here is Vesta is conjunct Apollon. Now, Vesta is our soul's desire, our heart's intention, and Apollo is literally the devil. And so what I noticed when I've been looking at people's charts, where their Apollo is where their where the enemy is going to try to take them out. Because so far, all of this energy is good. The inventions, the creations, the beautiful, taking care of ourselves and all of that stuff. But our quote unquote sacred flame could literally be our downfall. So what could that be? Before I even read the spirit intelligence, people who are still attending organized religious churches without questioning their pastor's behavior, i.e., TD snakes, create a flow of dollars, right? And a lot of these major pastors. On the other side, people who are literally out here saying Jesus is a demon. That's also going to create a problem. That can, because it creates this doubt. The problem is it is creating a place for doubt to come in. You doubt your pastor because he's a creep, or you doubt the literal savior of this planet because someone told you he was a devil, right? This is not good. And so you need to, during this equinox period, check your spirituality at the door. If your corporate spirituality at the door. I didn't say get rid of it. I didn't say ignore it. I just said check it at the door, because it is going to be your downfall. That is literally what this is. This year, this season, and this year, that those harsh beliefs that don't allow for flexibility are going to be your downfall. It is built into this chart. So the degree here is 5 degrees of Scorpio, and that's Helmis. And everything connected with milk on this earth in respect of man as well as animal falls under the competence of this head. He protects all nurses and all mothers who suckle their babies. All mammals on earth are protected by this head. The range of this competence is very wide. During the course of time, he has taught man to use milk as nutrition. Inspired by this head, he has learned to use milk gained from animals not only as drink, but also for the manufacture of dairy products. Helmis has inspired man to introduce a milk diet for certain kinds of diseases and to produce from milk various types of medicine. Many things connected with the working up of milk, which will not become known to the public until the distant future, may now be revealed to the magician by his head. And you know what they say milk is? Milk is like babies suckle milk, right? And so a lot of people are claiming out here to be spiritual adults, but they're really still on the teat, you know what I mean? And that's one way that this can play out. Also, this weird dark feminine mother that keeps trying to that these men keep trying to conjure up, because they know that the men they know that she will have special favor towards the men. That's also in this. So this dark feminine that again hides in everybody's different energies. You can only tell the divine feminine by energy. There's no name you can put on her. It's only the divine feminine. It's totally energetic. So people are describing her, but they don't have any energetic ability to discern between light and dark, because a lot of people don't have the ability to discern between the light and the dark. Anyway, the symbol for this is an ancient temple from which shoots forth forks of electricity. Denotes one singularly gifted and of great power of observation, who has ability to turn even the thoughts of old world philosophies into forms of materialistic triumph. He is disposed to regard the thoughts of men and to ponder over, consider, and utilize what most people would cast aside as useless. Failures do not daunt his spirit, for he knows that success comes from repeated failures. He attempts the end and does not stand in doubt. It is a symbol of achievement. So listen, this entity that's coming in, this energy built into this particular equinox, is not going to give up. You got to continue to fight that. And they're coming using all kinds of books, all kinds of ancient knowledge, telling you that you are drinking the tea when in fact they're on the tea. This is very, very dangerous energy for especially Black people who are already emotionally fragile. If the Tyler Perry thing doesn't break them, if there was a complaint out against some other singers, something big is going to come that's going to break the psyche of a lot of regular Christians and also spiritualists. I don't know what it is, but it's coming and it's built into this energy. So you're best to like I said, check your spirituality at the door. If you already go to church, keep going to church, no problem. If you don't go to church, maybe don't start right now. Kind of lay low. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be coming at you from different angles. It's never going to stop. Not in this cycle. It's going to continue. So hopefully next year we don't have this, but this cycle is built in. So I'm just suggesting that you don't engage in that. Okay, so this is the end of the video on the solar or the astrology. We're gonna stop this video, come back and do another video on the Jubilee cycle, and then another video on the lunar cycle. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.